It's early spring out here. Radishes are starting to come up, as well as the bok choy. And we found a few mushrooms about a week ago. They're in the fridge and they're getting real dry. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to rehydrate those morel mushrooms. We're going to make a mushroom or a morel risotto. And so I'm going to mix a little bit of the bok choy into that. Bok choy tends to take a lot of the flavor for whatever food it's in and spices that you use in it. So by putting it in there, it's going to soak up that morel flavor and so you're going to kind of taste it throughout that rice. Out of these radishes, I'm going to use them to make a radish dip for a little appetizer. And then I have gathered up a bunch of different flower types. I've gathered up some dandelion flowers. I've gathered up some apple blossom flowers, as well as some redbud blooms. And I'm gonna make jelly out of that, and that'll be our nice little dessert there. So everything is grown or foraged. Let's get in the kitchen and get these radishes picked, and we're gonna grab a few of these bok choy leaves and see what we can come up with. So this goes in a lot of Asian dishes, a lot of stir fries, things like that. And it's just a really good, surprised more people don't eat it, but it kind of came from China. And Americans, I guess, haven't came around to it yet. But it's good stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this in and I'm going to get it all washed off these leaves off, just put it in the sink, get all the dirt off, everything like that. And then I'll kind of dry it off, pat it off with a towel, and it should be ready to go. Alright, so I got about a cup of radishes here that I've got taken all the root ends off and the green tops off. And these greens, you can actually eat these greens as well. So I'm going to take some of the smaller tender ones and I'm just going to pop those in my risotto rice, and they're just going to kind of soak up that flavor and give it a little bit of a green texture. So these morels have been in the fridge for about a week now, and so they've gotten pretty dry. And so the best way to store these are to just put them in a bag like this, either a paper bag or a bag with like a mesh sack or something like this, so they can breathe real easy and they get plenty of air circulation so they don't rot. So you take those out and it's pretty simple. You just take these to rehydrate. You just put them into the water here and they'll soak up the rest of that water. Morels are like 90% water, so when they dry out they get really, really small. So they'll puff out a lot whenever they get in that water and they start soaking up that water like a sponge. So you just put these about 30 minutes into water and they should be rehydrated and ready to cook with. Alright guys, so we have our risotto rice here. It's just short grain rice again. I want to make sure you use the short grain rice. So I've put some onion powder, some garlic powder, and some dried chives in it, as well as a bouillon cube. I've got 3 cups of rice, and I'm going to put in 4 cups of water, and I'm also going to use this half cup of water that I've had the morels in, because that water that they've been hydrating in is going to contain a lot of that morel flavor. So I'm going to take these morels out. They're nice and workable now. They've rehydrated, and I'm going to cut those up into really small pieces. We're going to add all this into the skillet, and the last 10 minutes I'm going to add some of the bok choy as well as some of the green chives. Just going to let that come to a boil, and I'm going to stir it until it's a nice thicker texture. Alright, so here's my finely chopped morels. Got about a half a cup there, and I'm just going to go ahead and add those and let those simmer inside of that. One key to making this risotto is that you really need to stir it almost constantly, at least every minute or so. That's really the key, is not to burn it. You just keep stirring it until it gets to the point where it's a nice thick mixture of rice. Most of that liquid's cooked off. So all I do to make this radish dip is to take these radishes, go ahead and throw those in a food processor, or you can just cut them with your knife really, really fine. And then you're going to add 8 ounces of cream cheese, half a cup of butter. I like a few green onions in there, a little bit of paprika, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to put all this stuff down in the description, so if you can't remember it, You'll have the recipe for both of these things down in the description below. Go ahead and add my bok choy to that. We're about in the last 10 minutes of cooking here. And I'm gonna throw some green onions in there. I'm gonna blend this up in the food processor. I got my paprika, green onions, and my radishes in there. Then I'm gonna throw it all in a bowl with the cream cheese and the softened butter, as well as a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. You can also add some chili powder if you want a little bit more spicy. And then it should be ready to go. You can serve this on Ritz crackers or any kind of buttery crackers like that. It goes pretty well on. Finish it off with a little bit of Parmesan. I got all my different flower petals in different containers. So I've got about 2 cups of Redbud flowers. Got 1 cup, about 1.5 cups of apple blossom flowers, and then about a cup of the dandelions. So I'm just gonna, I got this water, it's hot, it just started boiling on the stove. And I'm gonna go ahead and pour about a 1-to-1 ratio. So pour 1 cup in here, about 1.5 cups in here, and 2 cups in here. So yeah, I just do a 1-to-1 ratio. And we're basically making a tea out of it. Alright, as you can see there, it's already starting to kind of turn a little bit. And I'll tell you, this dandelion tea smells like fresh cut grass, to be honest. This is the apple blossom tea, not so great. And the Redbud tea, it's got a little bit of a sweet smell to it, but I don't know how this is going to turn out. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to push, with a wooden spoon, I'm going to push these down into the water, and then I'm going to cover them up, and I'm going to put them in the fridge overnight for 24 hours. So one at a time, I'm just going to throw a coffee filter on here and strain it out. Get all the flower petals out. I'll be adding 2 teaspoons of lemon juice for every cup I have, and a tablespoon of this Sure Gel pectin for every cup. And then I'm going to boil that on the stove. And then once it hits boiling, I'm going to add a cup for every cup, a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar, and then bring it to a boil again, and then can. I'm adding 1 cup to every cup of water, 1 cup of sugar to every 1 cup of water or liquid tea or extract that I got from the flower petals. So with the Redbud, since I got 1.5 cups of tea from the Redbud flowers, I'm going to put 1.5 cups of sugar in there. So it's just a 1-to-1 ratio, so it keeps it pretty easy. And I'm just going to let this come to a rolling boil and boil it for about 30 seconds to a minute. Then I'm going to let it cool, and I'm going to bottle it. And I'm going to do each one the exact same way. And then we'll do our little taste test and see which one we like the best and how they compare. There's the dandelion. We'll let that cool, and then hopefully we added enough pectin in there that we'll have a jelly-like consistency. And what do you think of the dip?
Good.
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 Peyton, what do you think of the dip?
Good. I already ate it.
What do you think of the risotto there? The Morel Risotto, Layla?
Good.
Anything bad? The apple cider jelly. Kind of a light red apple blossom jelly. It's kind of a a light red. Here we have the dandelion jelly. It's a really light golden yellowish color, about the color of honey. Alright, so the golden one is dandelion jelly. This kind of like off red is apple blossom jelly. And then this pinkish red one, that's the Redbud jelly.
I want to see what is it actually real dandelion?
Alright, so you want to take, let's do the dandelion jelly first.
That sounds different.
I thought it tasted like honey.
It does. I don't like any.
Alright, let's try, which one do you want to try next?
Apple.
The apple blossom?
Apple blossom, yeah. It actually tastes really good. Like real jelly.
Oh, it is real jelly. Which one tastes better? You like the dandelion or more or that one? The dandelion?
I like this one better.
So you like the apple blossom and you like the dandelion?
That one's too sweet.
The apple blossom?
Apple blossom too sweet. With the name of Redbud, this has to be good. Next one.
Alright, you guys ready for the Redbud?
Yeah.
Alright.
You're gonna try one? I honestly like it.
That one tastes almost like a raspberry.
Mm-hmm. You know what? This is really good.
That one wins.
Which one wins? Dandelion?
For me, Redbud. What about you, Dad? I did like
The
it.
Redbud's pretty good. Dandelion's pretty good too though, it kind of tastes like honey. I do like that. There's a lot of dandelions.
Not like we can make a bunch of jelly if it's actually from the dandelions.
Yeah.
But for something that's made out of dandelions, like eating dandelions plain is...
Pretty bitter and gross.
Yeah, and I do not know how that transformed into this.
You're supposed to eat the yellow part.
Well, just a lot of sugar and a lot more sugar.
Because it actually tastes pretty good.
I like salty way more than sweet.